Chris Duffin here today with Dr. Francesca Vermillion. And Francesca helped us co-develop this MyoRök tool, which is absolutely wonderful. We've got a separate video kind of talking and showing how to use this this tool in combination with the shoulder rock. This tool is an addition to our IASTM line and kind of plays off of gua sha or some of the other clinical based, I probably shouldn't name their names in here, but tell us what that type of treatment does for an individual.
Great. The treatment is based on just an ancient healing art of being able to work through scar tissue and try and lift fascia off the muscle. So fascia is everywhere underneath our skin. It goes over all of the muscles. Sometimes you see it like if you're preparing chicken, that's that tiny little layer that you peel off.
That white layer, yep.
Yes. And a lot of times we can have an injury and our body lays down scar tissue and it will lay it down unevenly. It won't lay it in the same pattern that muscle normally does. And so gua sha and the scraping, the IASTM, the whole idea is you move with the range of the muscle to smooth that out, and then you kind of go cross friction too to break up that scar tissue and get better range of motion out of that muscle again.
So a lot of people always want to jump to some of the deep tissue tools, which we obviously love with the pain pill, the boomstick, all that sort of stuff. But this is hitting a different facet, right? And there's quite a bit of nerves running through that fascial layer. So if we think about that, we need to have a lot of different shapes. And so most of the tools out there, like a simple gua sha is done with a spoon, it's really limited because you've only got a very limited tool set or shape to deal with. Or you've got to have a whole lot of different tools in your arsenal to reach all those different crosses. So over some time, we've worked together to put all those key features into this tool. And actually, you'll notice ours has a bit of heft to it. Mm-hmm. Does that not help you in the process?
Yes. With some of the other tools that I've used, some of them are really small or just have a small handhold, so I really have to grip, and I find at the end of the day my own arm needs some work by the time I'm done working on someone. And I know that with working with someone your size, I definitely am gripping the tool very hard, so that weight and the curves fit the muscles beautifully.
Well, we're looking forward to showing you some specific uses for this tool so that you can use on yourself to move forward with your rehab or return to play or just recovery from one workout to the next. So we're going to go through some general application, I guess, type things with the tool today, right?
Okay.
All right, there you go.
So for self-use, it's really good to make sure you've got a good grip. I really like how it's got some cutouts here, and just how you place it against the skin. So if you're going to do some work on your forearm, for example, you'll want some type of lotion or emollient. You can do without it, but you might get a little rash. What works?
And that could be simple as like coconut oil,
yes.
Or you could use any sort of lotions that work well on your skin, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you want a massage-based lotion,
okay.
And not one that's going to absorb quickly. And like you said, coconut oil is perfect, and it's very affordable and easy to use. And then the next thing is just keeping in mind the angle. If you're trying to do some self-use and you feel like a little tight spot here, you're going to try and go at about a 45-degree angle versus straight at it, and then just kind of scrape, and you can go back and forth. All different directions if you want to try. Or
you're kind of thinking about like lifting those layers too, right?
Yeah, you're lifting that skin up and trying to separate that from the fascia and changing the layers, and then there might be a tight spot where there's that little bit of scar tissue there that you'll work through, and there'll be some redness or like speckled red spots. The fancy term is petechiae, or some mild bruising that shows up right away, and that just depends on your skin type.
Yep. My red spots happen to come from playing in the shop today, so not from the tool. That feels great.
Good.
So, obviously I've got a little bit of familiarity with the body here, and I know I'm not going to run into the issue running in this area, but there's some areas where you have the potential of hitting a nerve, right? Mm-hmm. And nerves do not like compression or aggravation. So if you feel like, can you describe like when you would not apply the tool.
Right. Bone's very sensitive and nerves very sensitive. So the nerves, if you've got any numbness or tingling down in your fingers if you're working through here, or some burning pain down below, any change of sensation, it's really important to stop, reassess. And then bone's pretty easy. You run into it, you hear it and you feel it, and you'll stop quickly.
I don't have that problem running into bone.
No.
So, but basically any of the burning type pain or tingling kind of running down that limb is an indicator that you're on that nerve, and that's an area you don't want to do. You're actually going to aggravate and make the issue worse.
Yes, don't keep going till you stop feeling things. Just stop first.
So Francesca, let's say, I've got some tight forearms. I've been deadlifting a lot, and I decided to work through that to get that cleaned up before my next session. How much time should I be spending, and how much pressure should I be using as I work through those tissues?
Great question. The pressure will come down to your own tolerance. You do want to start off lighter at first, and then you can work your way a little deeper, because then you want to get the structures on top and work your way down as you need. And then the time, you just want to spend a few minutes. If you go too hard or too vigorous, you can actually cause a new injury or put yourself at risk for a new injury.
Okay. And how much time should we spend in there?
No more than 1 to 2 minutes per muscle area.
Okay, so that's pretty similar to what we preach on pain pill, boomstick stuff. Yeah. Or you could also think about it as like feeling that we're making progress, and we either stop making progress or we've stalled out, right? And
you can let pain be your guide a little bit too. Some people are really good about pain, and some people aren't. And try not to go more than a 6 out of 10 in terms of intensity.
Okay. So pretty much like the same exact type of advice we use for our other IASTM tools. So,
Perfect.
Yeah. We're going over some uses for the MyoRök on the pec and shoulder complex. So,
All right.
You ready?
Yes. We're going to show a couple of ways to use handheld to work the muscles, and you can have somebody do it on you, or you can do it yourself. I've got a little coconut oil here that I'll use on the shoulder, and then maybe a little on the pec here. And we've created some nice grips here for the MyoRök so that we can hold on to it nicely. And depending on what you want to do, all these edges work great. I like this one to kind of go around the deltoid. It fits quite nicely. And we think about a 45-degree angle. And we just scrape kind of up or down. I will sometimes use the rounded edges to do what I call a scan and look for any areas that might be particularly tight. So if I find a spot, then I'll focus and stay on that area. And just like all the other IASTT tools, we stay there for about 60 to 90 seconds, no longer. We're going to work on the pec muscle. We've got pec minor and pec major. Pec minor runs from the acromion process to the lower ribs here, and pec major covers the whole area here. A lot of times pec minor gets really tight and can cause some symptoms down into the arms, can make it difficult with benching. So I like to work this area first. It can be a little bit tender. And I just scan through and look for any tight areas. And you make sure you get the where the muscle starts and where the muscle ends. And if you have somebody doing this on you, you can even do some motion. You can have them move. You can have them go in a bench press motion if we want to check that out, and just work that area nicely like that. Okay.
So here's some self-use on the shoulder. We've got the set up on the MyoRök here, and I can just get in to the shoulder. I can even get into the rear delt. I'm going to do the pec and shoulders with myself on the tactical MyoRök. You could, of course, use the longer one and just choke it up if you don't have that available. But I'm going to try to get this in that same 45-degree motion to work through. So you can see I can hit all those same areas. With the shoulder complex, the traps are pretty critical as well. So I'm going to take this edge here. Depending on your trap size, you may use the other one here. And go up. You'll notice I'm at that same 45 angle. And work through. I kind of pull my head a little bit away to stretch the tissue. Also a great one if you've got a partner to do the work with you as well.
All right, if you've got a partner, working the traps is really nice. You can use any edge you want and just work through there. If you want to be really fancy for your friend, you can have them tilt his head towards and away and do a little bit of flossing. You can move your head just a little bit slower. And then as they're moving, you can feel the different muscles as they fire and go throughout their course there. All right, so if you have someone who can help you do the lat work, that's great. Again, you just pick an edge that works for you and fits, and you scrape the length of the muscle. Side lying is nice just because it makes the muscle pop out a little more. And then if you've got somebody like Chris who's got pretty large lats, sometimes you can get some adhesions in the lats and the serratus here, and I'll use the edge of the blade just to get between the two, and then I can have them do a little motion. And then just get a little bit more separation for these muscles here. Okay, and sometimes that longer edge works for the big muscles there.
I kind of hate this, but it works really, really, really well.
Yeah, and it's about a moderate pressure while he moves and does the work, but it's a great hand saver if you're working on someone else.
The lats can greatly affect shoulder function when we've got extra tension going there. So I've got this leaned against the wall here. And I'm just going to work against it and control my body as the MyoRök stays fixed on the head and work the length of that tissue. I can even add some movement in there if I want.
All right, to do other areas of the shoulder, we have the posterior rotator cuff muscles. Infraspinatus sits on the back of the scapula here and comes into the back of the shoulder. You generally want to try and go the direction of the muscle, and so you'd have somebody help you working the same direction of the muscle here. What's also over here is the teres on the lower portion and comes across. You can hit that. The supraspinatus across the top of the scapula here. You can use this nice pointed edge to hit the small part of the muscle and work through. And if you've got good mobility, you can take the tactical shoulder rock and attach this and work the muscles yourself here.
We are going to go through using the MyoRök on the arms.
Yes.
Biceps, triceps, forearms, extensors, flexors, all that good stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with the biceps. You can easily do it yourself and do some self-work here, or if you've got a buddy, it's always nice to incorporate some motion. So I'll do the same thing, come at the angle, and Chris can kind of flex and relax, and we move through there, or I'll come at a higher angle and work while he moves his arm. And you can go through the course of the muscle there.
All of this is actually really easy to hit yourself. So,
yep, easy enough to do some self-work right up the arm, just like that. All right, we're going to show triceps here. It actually attaches on the scapula and then all the way to the elbow, so that's the course of it. A lot of times I'll start near the elbow and just work that portion. If you can bend the arm, then you can kind of get a little deeper in there, and then that motion, you catch different fibers, and you just work up and down along the course. And for working that close to the scapula, bring your arm up overhead, and you can get the portion that way. Same thing. Go ahead.
In our shoulder complex video, we showed hitting the lats against the wall. It's you'd use the same one for hitting that insertion on the tricep as well.
Yep. And if you've got the mobility, you can kind of do some self-work. It just depends on how far you can take the arm back to be able to work that on your own.
As you can see, I can do the movement as well while I work through this, and you can get a tremendous amount of pressure on there. Again, we don't take this above a 6 or maybe a 7 on that scale, 60 to 90 seconds. But absolutely tremendous way of getting in that tricep. Got the MyoRök mounted up here on the shoulder rock for hitting. I'm going to work through both my flexors and extensors. So extensors are opening the hand this way. A lot of times people have a lot of restriction there and aren't aware of it. It can greatly affect things. But I can work through all of that tissue. A lot of times elbow pain. So as we start getting down into this tissue around the insertion of the elbow, so you're working those biceps and triceps, but also don't forget to work through that tissue on the other side of the elbow, running the full length of it. And you can see, you can easily get into all of this tissue myself. So here's hitting the top of those extensors and actually a little bit into those flexors. Just following, you can see how well this fits the shape of the arm. This minor curve right here, if you've got some carpal tunnel related issues, can be absolutely great. Working up towards the wrist here. We see issues in the hands with a number of lifters. So a lot of times it can greatly affect grip if we start limiting the range here, the ability to get around the bar. So that's one area we can get in here and work through this tissue in here. Also, if you start seeing the tendons kind of pop a little bit here and you're lacking extension on these fingers, we're going to work through, again, working through the movement as we open those up. Boom. So these are two areas that one can improve the function of the hand, definitely have a positive impact on grip and everyday life, because once your hand starts getting restricted, you'll have problems kind of doing normal things like writing and whatnot. And this big curve right here is great for working around this thumb complex right here. Chris Duffin and Dr. Vermillion coming at you from the Kabuki strength team today to work on what my favorite complex, the belly rub complex. So inside joke, but we're going to work through a lot of the areas in the abdominal area. So
Yes.
Shall we start with obliques?
Yeah.
All right.
Really great for lifters to know that sometimes when you're having some pain in the back, it's good to just check those obliques. They get really tight and can cause some adhesions and problems all the way through the core.
So I'm going to lay down, and Francesca's going to show the work on me, but you can easily do all this work yourself with this tool in the handheld version.
Yeah, pretty easy to kind of work same side, or you can work on someone else and basically check through. So you've got the
Turn there to just allow them to see that a little better. Yeah.
You've got the main rectus abdominis here, and then the obliques coming in on the side. You can use some type of coconut oil or lotion and just kind of scrape through, and you're going to find a spot that feels a bit gristly. Work on it for about 30 to 60 seconds, and then move to a new area. Not so bad. It gets real tight along sometimes the ribs here, and so you can work through those rib origins as well. Another thing that's common is getting some trigger points in these ribs, or maybe the serratus, which is these nice little muscles that attach on the ribs here. They can get really tight. I like this nice pointed edge. And then you just push in and hold. You don't have to push very deep. And you just hold for about 30 seconds until you feel it release. Next region, we're working down the body here and looking at doing quads, IT band on the outside here, get the VMO and even the adductors. You can do self-use or just have somebody work. I like this curved edge nicely around the VMO. Same thing, just remember that 45-degree angle and work through there. Any edge that's comfortable. I like the long edge for getting into the adductors. You can incorporate some motion and kind of bring the leg in and out with it. as you work through the quads. And then if you do IT band, this is a tiny little muscle, very thin, and we just want to be nice to it. So you use a lighter pressure than you might with the bigger, thicker muscles, and just sweep your way up and through. For our MyoRök, there's great ways to get into the glutes. They get nice and tight. Either edge of the rounded edges work great to get into the glutes. If you've got some good mobility, you can kind of work on it yourself and bend it, get it on a bench, and work through it, or you can use it on the wall with the shoulder rock.
So yes, I will show the limited mobility version, which is you can use extend and reach through here, or prop on a bench or against the wall to help support it, and then work into those areas. And it's quite effective that way.
All right, with the thigh region, there's hamstrings. Get back here, pick whatever blade edge you like. For the handheld version, you can go here, and then I'll add a little curl motion to be able to work through it. Or you can do the seated with the shoulder rock version.
Right here.
Yep.
This is also a great time. We covered the adductors earlier, but right through there as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll show the handheld use for getting on your calf, those shin splint areas, which is the tib anterior, and some of these outside muscles here. Again, pick an edge that you want to work with. I liked the inner edges here to kind of get into the gastroc. If you've got the good flexibility, you can add some foot movement with your gastroc work. You can kind of work your way to the peroneals on the outside. And then those shin splints, I like that edge right along the bone, and you just work through into that muscle there.
So this is one of the areas I really like using it on the shoulder rock head because it's not just the amount of limited mobility, but getting yourself in a jacked up position is potentially going to cause other issues or just have bad neural outputs. So I can maintain good spinal integrity here, and I can use those same edges and work, and you'll notice I can work on holding that same angle if I want to do that, and I can work all those same areas very, very well and apply a lot of pressure. So again, let's speak to the pressure that we'd want to apply on these areas, Francesca.
You don't want more than about a 7 out of 10 pain. You just want to keep it mild to moderate, and again, work anywhere from 30 seconds to 90 seconds.
Don't mind, I'll just keep doing this while you're doing it because it feels great.
All right, so moving further down, we've got the Achilles area, so towards the bottom, and then the plantar fascia. If you're going to do some shoulder rock work, you can do across handheld, works really nice. Roll it up, get the bottom of your foot across it. Feels pretty good?
Yes, it does.
All right. Or the Achilles, again, pick that curved edge and just work it. The Achilles can be pretty sensitive, so you might want to pick maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10 instead of that 7, and just be real careful. But I like the curved edges just to work on either side of it instead of straight down. And then for the bottom of the foot, to get that plantar fascia, you can use those outer curves and just get in there. Works really well on some fasciitis issues or foot pain in general.
Yeah, it's really easy to neglect the foot, so it's really awesome, especially for some of the bigger athletes, to be able to do some of this with a higher level of frequency than waiting for, hey, when I've got an appointment scheduled with someone, we can stay on top of it better. So
Keeps you on top of the game.
Awesome.
Great area to get neck, back of neck, suboccipitals, that hairline when it gets really tight or any headaches. I'm going to lay the shoulder rock down with the MyoRök on it and use one of the curved edges, put my head back on it. And then just a little scoop back and forth, and that will work that area nicely. Keep the chin tucked, and that will focus that area. It gets a lot deeper than lacrosse balls, and just really you can control it. You don't have to go that hard, and it just gets a nice stretch and pressure in that area.